So,
Right.
okay. I know. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
So today we are going to jump into when you don't have time, money, resources for usability testing, how you can go about getting some insight into where your customers, where your users are struggling. And this is our first time going through a fun exercise of doing this live. We're going to walk you through the exercise so that you can get an example or a glimpse of what that looks like.
Yes. Yes. And I guess this one came to be from your class,
Yes.
looking at this particular site. So,
Yes, yes. So before we jump into it, when you think about usability, you're typically, or usability testing, we're typically taking our customers through, or we're taking our participants through task-based scenarios in how they would use the product and having them walk through and give us insight into, what is going on in terms of where there's friction, can they get the task completed, where is there confusion, that sort of thing. So when you think about going through this exercise, the first thing that, from a usability test standpoint, and then also in terms of what we're going to show you, you've got to first define those key tasks.
right.
So when you look at the site or the application, what are my customers or users doing when they
Yep.
come to experience this digital application or interface? And so you've got to first define those key tasks.
Yep, you have to define them. And what we have talked about. What brought all this up was, there are heuristic evaluations we do using kind of your static checklist of things. Still great to do. You get a lot out of that, but this is a way, call it a task based heuristic
Right.
evaluation. So you know what your problem statements are, the purpose of your site, core task.
Mhm.
We do usability testing with that, but we also do heuristic evaluations.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I kept looking for the term, and yes, it's around heuristics, and it's looking at how do we. Sorry, I want to turn on some lights. I feel like I'm in the dark. How do we look at things from the standpoint of that those different rules or best practices around design? How do you look to see where things are working or not working? And so I
Right.
think that's a really good segue into this exercise. So after you've defined those key tasks that are involved, next you have to look at following your user through those workflows. So this is what we're going to do next.
Yes.
Are you ready? All right. So we are going to take a look at the site experience for NC State's dining services. Now, no slight or disrespect to NC State. Go Wolfpack. We are both alumni of
Yep.
NC State. And I think this is a really good example because it's a public facing website, it's a public university. So this is a site that anyone can access. And part of the exercise is for us to look at where there are challenges in that experience.
Right.
Okay. So, Deanne, are you going to be kind of, I'll let you go through things as if you're following a heuristic and we'll kind of play off of each other in terms of those different tasks. But I'm going to follow your lead in terms of where to look for stuff. And because I've seen the site more so than you have. So, where to
Yeah.
look for stuff. So, we're going to start off by looking at things from the perspective of a first year student. So,
Yes.
when we look at this site and I'm a first year student and I'm looking to sign up for a meal plan, okay, so we're going to use that as our scenario or task. What's the first thing that you think about when you look at this site?
The first thing I'm thinking about, well, one, I'm about half blind, and then Restream is not behaving for me to see it really large. But real quick, I like you brought up, think about your different segments, right? Because I could be an existing student on this dining site, or what we'll play today is I'm a brand new student at NC State. So I'm looking, I want to, in my case, I don't want to find the food necessarily. I might want to sign up for a meal card So I would be looking for, how do I do that? So new student, I think for me, the first thing I do, and this is a nice part about getting people who aren't familiar with the site for these heuristic evaluations. I think I would go to my meal plan up at
Mhm.
the top, or at least that tells me, this is going to be something related to the plans. Then I look at them, because I'm new, I'm really looking for, purchase a meal plan or add a plan, whatever the language may be. Um, so here I see there's a change or cancel a meal plan. I might go, okay, well, I don't have one, but maybe it's going to let me add it there. So that's probably what I would do.
Interesting. So keep in mind, for those of you that are watching, Deanne is pretending that she's doing this on her own. And so if her first inclination is to go here to sign up for a new meal plan, then if you were in Deanne's shoes and you were doing this for the site, which you might either design the site, you might develop the site, you might be a part of the administration for the NC dining program, then if when you're looking at this, or that you are expecting people to navigate to things, if this is the intent to find a new meal plan, then you would want to click on it and see what experience that then gives your user.
Yes. Yep.
So what are you thinking when you get here?
So now I'm here. Scroll down a little bit for me. I see there's a heading that says.
And let me interrupt you there, because you just said, okay, now I'm here, and let me scroll down a little bit. So for me, if I was doing if I worked for dining services and I'm looking at this site and my user has to go
Yep.
what they call below the fold to
Yep.
find the information, we're not using our real estate effectively if everything is static images above the fold, or where people don't have to select, or don't have an option to select anything. That's kind of problematic.
Yes.
So that violates a heuristic around giving your user the ability to access information quickly and easily.
Yep.
So go ahead. I interrupted you. What would you do next?
Well, I'm not sure because I can't read the red text, and that's not the site. That red box right there.
Yeah, so let me tell you what it says. So the first box up here says register, change fall 2024 meal plan. So if you were on this site, would you look at that as your option? And then this is more just static text in that bigger red box.
I'm looking at that, but I think where I was about to go was looking under the my meal plan box, because that looks like it has a bunch of actions. I might have looked at the red button you just read to me. I think I mostly asked because I couldn't read it from Restream. But really, I would go toward the gray box there. That's where my eyes are drawn. That looks like my action menu. So there I see again a change or cancel your meal plan.
So let me, since I can see things, let's switch places. So if I was to come here, I see that I have my meal plan options, and then over in the red, it says register or change fall meal plan. I might select either of those, but as someone who's an owner of the design of this site, I know where those take me. So I might say, okay, well, my intent is for our users to either access that from this register or change, or the meal plan options selection in the gray box, like you were mentioning. So if we were to go over here and click on the red, okay, it's taking me to a screen, and I'm sure you can see these words, Deanne. It's in big letters, black letters. It says Wolfpack One card, and then it says to log in to get. How does get work? So
it's not refreshing for me, Kenya. So I'm still looking at the main page.
It's taking a while to refresh. So that's a problem with Restream.
Yes.
Let's try and see if we can get Restream to catch up with where we are. No, Restream won't let us. So, all right, so let's turn this off and jump back and look at the two of us.
Talk about conversation about it. But you could see what we would want to do is whatever, let's say your team members, because this is an easy, anyone can do this. So back to what you said, if you don't have the resources, the time, and actually this is a good habit to be in kind of constantly when you're not going to be doing usability testing every feature or every page or every whatever you work on, is you have that list of tasks. Make sure you cover all the segments and types of users that might be on your site. That was a good example right there. It was very much geared toward repeat people coming there versus your new students who will struggle a bit trying to ramp up on everything. But it's a great way, have these things listed out, just like you have a heuristic checklist. Heck, you pair it with that, like those 10 heuristics we all use so often. But then go through the task, right? You just put the task down and let the users go on the team. Do it yourself, and note where there are issues encountered. Exactly how we do with the usability test.
That's right. And the thing is to your point, you have to put yourself in your user's shoes. And if you know that you have people who are existing users and new users, you want to take off your, ownership hat, whether you are program owner, developer, designer, whatever that might be. And you want to be able to then put your hat on as if you are looking at it from the perspective of those two different user types. And you want to have your 10 heuristics or whatever number of heuristics you're using, and you want to have those as a reference and make sure that your users can get back to where they came from. They can understand their context. They can recover from errors, all those different heuristics and what they mean to being able to navigate through the experience. And so with the example that I was just showing with the NC State dining services site, it took us to a static screen with big text, which I'm trying to describe, but it started to describe a new concept called Get, which is, I guess, your program where you purchase your food plan. And there was no context prior to that screen to explain what Get is, to tell you what you're doing in terms of obtaining a Get membership or services. And so you have to put yourself in that perspective of making sure that your user can have the confidence that they understand what they're about to do in that next step, and that they can recover if they make a mistake or go, to the wrong location on your site or in your application.
Right. And be consistent in how you're presenting the options too. Once you get to those pages, I believe I recall that page. Not only did we suddenly see totally different concept when we just said, let me pick a plan. All of a sudden we're introduced to a new app, a new acronym with no context around that. But from what I recall, all of a sudden the navigation got a little different too. The way the call to actions were presented were different. So again, not consistent, which is a heuristic. And can I complete my task? Do I know that I can go sign up for the meal plan from that Get out? So,
and how long did it take me to get there? So if you are, again, putting yourself in the shoes of your user, if it takes too many steps or learning new concepts and that sort of thing, then you have to recognize that, okay, if you alone know these things, or if you're stumbling a bit to get through things, understand that your user is more than likely going to experience that pain and more.
Right.
Because they're not as familiar with things as you are. So in that case, you have to start to look at those issues that you've noted and figure out how to prioritize them, whether that might be using consistent terminology or making sure that the navigation goes in a logical format forward, but also backward.
Right. And how bad is it? Does it actually prevent me from, am I going back and forth? And am I not able, do I feel like I need to call somebody before I can complete a task? Those things come out when you're doing those kind of task-based heuristics.
Exactly. And so, just to kind of recap where we are, you don't need to conduct usability testing if you don't have the time and money to do so. You can put on your user hat and think about the different types of users you have and think about looking at, okay, why are they here? What are they doing with the application or the website? Define those key tasks that they're performing, and then follow the user's workflows through the application and make sure that as you go through things, you look for those violations in those heuristics, because what you stand to lose if you don't either have them to reference in front of you or
Yeah.
you see those violations, what you stand to lose is, to your point earlier, people can't complete their task. Next, you want to note those issues. What are they struggling with? Or what would I as a user struggle with, not knowing these things? And then you ultimately want to prioritize those issues to understand, okay, how do we get the low hanging fruit addressed? And then go on to figure out more bigger structural changes that we can implement in a future, timeline, release, whatever that might be.
Yes, and leverage team members around you or people within your organization. Hand them that, heuristic checklist, but also hand them those tasks. And you can really treat it like almost a usability test. Internal, little different, I know, but everyone comes in with a different perspective.
Yes, and to that point, find people across different disciplines. The way in
Mhm.
which someone in your support or organization that interfaces with your customer is going to see it differently than someone who designs it, than someone who develops it. And so when you give them each the same task and you give them that list of heuristics to follow, now you get some robust, quick and dirty data, didn't cost you a thing, was something that folks could do over lunch. And then you have some feedback to kind of look at and prioritize and respond to make things easier and better for your user.
Absolutely. Quick and dirty. I like that. That's exactly what it is. And they're invaluable when you do that, because I know we do it every single project we go on. That's essentially, we do a task-based heuristic ourselves. Couple of hours, usually really complex services or products, might take us a, day to really dive in because of the complexities, but it's always a great starting point, especially when coupled with your more traditional heuristic eval.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you for listening. Please reach out if you have any questions, comments. We'd love to hear from you. Definitely send us any other future topics that you might have of interest. We have some really interesting guests coming up and different topics to
Yeah.
discuss. So, would love to hear your feedback and thoughts around other topics as well. Have an awesome week.